The 2023 Formula One season has yet to actually get underway, but there's been so much talk and so much disagreement between Formula One, the sports, commercial rights holders, and the FIA, the body that governs motorsport and, of course, Formula One. The latest of these salvos involves the president of the FIA, Mohammed bin Sulayem, Formula One stakeholders, the commercial rights holders, and weirdly enough, Saudi Arabia, and some ill-advised Twitter, posts. So, what exactly has caused, this latest problem between the sport and the governing body? And really, quite frankly, what exactly does Saudi Arabia have to do with it? Well, I'll answer that last question first, because there have been rumors recently that Formula One, the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, or the PIF, which is the financial arm of the Saudi Arabian Kingdom, was interested in buying a stake or a majority stake of all of the commercial rights of Formula One for a price of about 20 billion US dollars. That is a staggering amount of money, but of course money that the oil-rich state can afford to throw around, especially for a commodity that is growing in popularity the way Formula One is. And these reports, which the veracity and the originality of which can be debated, actually led to bin Sulayem, the current president of the FIA, issuing a very public rebuttal against. I'll just go over quickly what it is he said, because he posted in a three-tweet Twitter thread. So the first tweet says that, as the custodians of motorsport, the FIA, as a non-profit organization, is cautious about alleged inflated price tags of $20 billion being put on F1. Any potential buyer is advised to apply common sense, consider the greater good of the sport, and come with a clear, sustainable plan, not just a lot of money. It is our duty to consider what the future impact will be for promoters in terms of increased hosting fees and other commercial costs, and any adverse impact that it could have on fans. So, easy as you like, and I mean, truth be told, it does sound like something that the custodian, as you said, the custodians of motorsport, the governing body of Formula One, should be looking out for the best interests of not just, of course, motorsport in general, but also that of the fans. There's just one small problem with this entire exercise. It's really none of his business, A, and if that seems harsh, I'll explain to you why in just a bit. And two, it has unfortunately really irritated a lot of Formula One's teams, the stakeholders, the commercial rights holders, all of these people, and it has led to a very strong letter of rebuttal sent by Formula One to the FIA. Now, I've read that letter, and the thing is that it's too long a letter to actually write down in its entirety, but I've picked out a few salient points which I thought stood out, and we're going to discuss that with you. The first is that Formula One makes very clear in the letter that Formula One has exclusive commercial rights, or Liberty Media, the owners of Formula One's commercial rights, have exclusive rights when it comes to deciding how it is they commercialize or use the sports commercial rights. Secondly, they said that the FIA president's comments are in fact unacceptable. Why exactly have they said that? Quite frankly, the third point is your answer, that is that the FIA has no say in any sale of Formula One. And the last part, and that's perhaps most important, is that these comments damage Liberty Media. Why? Because it could very well drive down any talk of sale or investment in Formula One if it is a man as powerful as bin Sulayem saying that, look, you shouldn't be looking to throw that much money around. Why exactly is it though that F1 teams have given such a strong wording in this regard? We're going to come to that in just a bit, but before that, it is important to note that in recent times the relationship between the FIA and F1 has been increasingly fractious, and this is just the latest instance of the two parties butting heads. How exactly is that the case? Well, first off, there has been a very public disagreement over new teams in Formula One. Bin Sulayem, remember, took to Twitter and said that I've talked to the FIA to put out an expression of interest to add a new team to Formula One. Then Formula One decided, yeah, we don't want a certain team, that is of course Andretti Cadillac. I've done a video on that, you can check that out on this channel if you haven't already, and why exactly it is the case that Formula One doesn't want Andretti Cadillac. So there's that sort of a disagreement. Bin Sulayem himself put out a tweet saying the team should not be looking to, play down or downplay Andretti Cadillac. Then there was the Formula One ban on political, quote unquote, or quote unquote political messages, which basically clamped down on any messages for, things like Black Lives Matter or the Rainbow LGBTQIA plus rights movement, all of these things. The FIA also put in a ban on jewelry and other such things, which actually just ended up getting the drivers more disillusioned than anything else. And there have been a lot of issues when it comes to race stewarding, or how it is that crucial decisions in the race are taken by the stewards. Now, obviously, that is something that is part in much of an F1 problem in itself, because the stewards are actually volunteers. They're not paid. They don't travel from, one place to the other. They're just volunteers that are taken from the country that they happen to be in. But the FIA is the one who appoints the race directors, and there have been inconsistent calls from the two different race directors who were appointed ahead of the 2022 season. So all of these things really has caused a situation where, truth be told, and this has happened many, many times, the FIA and F1 are at loggerheads. But in this case, in the past, you could say that, okay, in this, you could pick out that, maybe both parties were in the wrong and they just need to find a middle ground, or maybe one party was more wrong than the other. In this case, I'm going to have to say that I side with the F1 teams on this one. The FIA has no ground here, and I'm going to explain why right now. First off, the commercial rights of the sport belong to Liberty Media and Liberty Media alone. The FIA's role in safeguarding the sport does not include deciding how it is that the sport's commercial right holders sell the sport or decide to make designs to commercialize it. None of that falls under the remit of the FIA, and truth be told, this has been the case for a number of years. There's been like an agreement both on paper and gentlemanly that the FIA will not overstep their bounds when it comes to the commercial side of the sport of Formula One. Which brings us to the second point, is that the FIA really doesn't have any say in matters of a sale, and Ben Sulayem in this case, in his personal capacity, is kind of overstepping his bounds, because it really isn't his place to be telling Formula One how it is that they should be looking to make money. And in that case, that is why it's important that we note the last point, is that the FIA, despite of course being, as Ben Sulayem mentioned, the custodians of motorsport, their main job when it comes to Formula One and really pretty much every racing series is just to be there as a fair enforcer of the rules and nothing else. Their remit does not stretch to talks of a potential sale. It doesn't stretch to talking about how it is that other teams should be investing their money in Formula One or other parties. None of this comes under the remit of the FIA, and that is why it is perhaps important to note that in this case, you would have to really side with the FIA, with Formula One over the FIA. Unfortunately, though, what this means is that it does end up putting, yet another spoke in the wheels when it comes to an already fractured relationship between Formula One and the FIA. The real shame is that it's coming at a time when the sport is experiencing a surge in popularity. It's gaining new fans thanks in no small part to the success of the Netflix series Drive to Survive, and the fact that their push for sustainability and, of course, sustainable fuels is attracting new investment from motor companies themselves. So there's a lot of positive buzz in and around F1. It would really be a shame if that buzz was dampened by infighting between the sport's governing body as well as the custodians of the commercial rights. Hopefully, for their sake, they can come to a middle ground, but this isn't anything new. This has happened throughout the history of Formula One, so you can expect things to actually get a little hairier or worse before they end up getting better. And we here at Sports Today will be bringing you all of the updates from this story as well as all of Formula One and motorsport as and when it happens. So stay tuned to us for that, but to do that, you'll have to subscribe to our channel. So don't forget to do that. For now, I'm taking your leave, but thank you all very much for joining us. Again, don't forget, if you enjoy our work, like, share, leave us a comment, tap the bell icon too. Once you've subscribed, you'll get to know when we're going live or uploading a new video. Then go ahead and also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And last but not least, don't forget to download the SportsTech app. Thank you all once again for joining us. As always, I've been Shane Dias. Thank you again. Goodbye.